Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Divine Disconnection podcast. I'm your host, Ralph Bryant, where we talk about spirituality, mental well-being, and human connection. And I am super excited to have Rosi Resilient with us today. How are you doing today, Rosi?
I'm fabulous. How about you, Ralph?
I am doing very well. It's starting to get cold, so I'm a little bit worried, but it's all good. So the first thing I noticed in getting to know you is that we are both from New York. Do you still live in New York?
No, I moved to the South. I live
That's
in
right.
Jersey
That's
now.
right.
Yes.
How did growing up in New York make you resilient?
Oh, wow. Well, Brooklyn alone makes anyone resilient. And the thing was, for me, I grew up Haitian. So I tell people I was in Brooklyn, but my apartment building, not even my apartment itself, but the whole building was Haiti. Everybody from there was from Haiti.
Right.
And so I had the culture there and everything. So I was brought up already with the whole you're resilient because we came from Haiti and we've come through so much. So already from that aspect, I already knew like we always get through tough times. There's nothing that will keep us down. If we get kicked down, we just get back up because that's what we do.
Mm.
So I always had that mindset and I was raised with that mindset.
What's the thing that you missed the most about New York?
The most?
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot. Okay, the most. I'm Brooklyn till God takes me home. Okay.
Wait, what part of Brooklyn are you from? Let's just
I'm from Flatbush. Hey, my Flatbush people.
Okay, so yeah, you can't get more Brooklyn than that.
Yes. I miss the diversity mainly and the accessibility to just walk across the street because you can't do that here.
Right.
The accessibility, just go across the street, hit the bodega, get a sandwich, get a hero sandwich, and you're good, you know?
Right.
And
now you got to drive.
Right. And it's 5 minutes away. Like I have to drive 5 minutes. Are you serious?
Right. I dig it. I dig it. So I live in Canada now and,
Yes.
You know, I mean, I live in cities, so I've only lived in cities or in the suburb. Actually, that's not true. I've lived in the suburbs of cities, so somewhat walkable. But the struggle for me is always the late night game is not like that hero you were talking about, you could pick up at 2:00 in the morning.
Yes. Or a slice of pizza. Like,
right. So the late night game here when it comes to New York is always, or in comparison, and that's true probably of most places in the world.
Right.
So I wanted to kind of jump forward to when it's in 2019 you started to have your struggles and talk to us a little bit about that and then how that led to you on to your journey to becoming a coach.
Yes. In 2019 October, I was laid off. And that hit me like a ton of bricks because one, it was unexpected. I didn't have any like Jesus warning me or anything. I didn't have any signals from anybody because people were talking to me as if I was going to be there on Friday. And this happened on a Wednesday. And two, I'm a healthcare professional. I'm a physician associate. I've never heard of a healthcare professional being laid off before. Like you hear it in tech and other things, but healthcare, like people need you to save their life. So it ain't hit in my head. Healthcare people could get laid off. Then, and mind you, as I said, it was October. So we have November and December, both holiday months.
Right.
And December is also my birth month. And I had a trip coming up. So I had all this stuff coming up that needed money. And so the layoff was at the wrong time.
Right.
Even though there's no such thing as the wrong time, but this was the wrong time.
Yeah.
And so that was part of my journey. In the beginning, I was good. I was like, okay, whatever. I didn't like you anyway. And I'm going to be okay.
Right.
But then November went to December. December went to January. And for me, 2020 was like, okay, 2020, new decade. Like, let's go. Like, I was just like amped for it. And to just leave everything in 2019, you can stay in that decade. I don't care. Mm-hmm. But then January came and it was still nothing. And I'm like, God, like, what's going on? I need a job. And I thank God I had people in my life that was like during November, December, it was like, the worries, the holidays, everything will turn back in January. So I was like, okay,
right.
January, we're going to be okay. But then when it wasn't turning in January, I was just like, yo, God, like, and then January, the unemployment check stopped. Mm. So now it's totally like done. Mm. And thank God I had savings because my mama raised me right. So I had savings. So I was like, okay, I'll just touch that and be okay. But then that was going down also because the unemployment check doesn't give you too much.
Right.
So then February came and then March came. And then I had all of a sudden 2 job interviews back to back. So I was like, okay, yes, God, let's go. Went to one. They said, okay, we'll call you for the second part. Cool. Second one, they called me back like an hour later, like, hey, when can you start? I was like, today? So like, oh, come back on Monday. We'll start you. I was like, yes. So I don't know if you guys remember 2020, March. This is the beginning of COVID.
Yes.
So late February, everything was like, we were hearing COVID in the medical world. Like, okay, COVID, don't worry about it, whatever. But then all of a sudden, pandemic. And I was like, okay, well, this is not going to touch me. There's no way. And I lasted 11 days working.
Wow.
And they said, hey, we have to furlough you. Never heard that term before. I was like, what the world's a furlough? So Google that one. Because layoff, check, I know that, whatever. And because I was not a 90-day plus employer, I went back to square one, unemployed.
Right.
So, yeah.
How do you, in that moment, you mentioned talking, to, God, checking in with him. How do you have that conversation? Do you fall on your knees, or do you, how do you do it?
I do everything. I'm on my knees. I'm on my bed. I'm in the shower crying. I'm walking. Like, any moment I get where my brain is having these thoughts that I'm just like, Jesus, you better help me here. The conversation is starting. Like,
right.
Jesus, what's up? How are you today? Well, let me tell you how I'm doing right now. I'm not doing well. And the verbiage begins. And
right,
then, yes.
right. I that's important because sometimes when you're not or you have a very narrow thinking of how the conversation happens between you and your divine, that it only happens in one way, on your knees, over your, in a quiet space, but and I think that, like you, that conversation, that phone line is always open, and yes, that conversation can happen in any way. Right. And sometimes sometimes it can be a scream, sometimes it can be a whisper. Sometimes it can be no sound at all, and it's just, the connection between your head and the Godhead. So it really, there is no reason not to check in
Right.
with God if you just need a little bit of,
Right.
a little bit of support in
Oh
your
yeah.
corner at any point.
Yes. 24/7. That's
Yeah.
he's
When
open.
you said during that time you read 50 books
Yes.
on human performance and personal development. Which of those books was like the aha for you? That
Yes.
was like, okay, now I got it.
Yes. Valerie Burton's book. To this day, I still get the title wrong, but it kind of says along of what will you do now? And when I read that, I was like, okay. And then the main gist of it was finding your why. And that was when, because I was like very depressed, despair, I had suicidal thoughts. And I was like, God, you could take me now. Like, I'm good. I did everything to me I felt was great. I don't need to be here anymore. Just take me home. And she was like, what's your why? And I was like, I haven't thought about my why in so long, because to me, my why was being a physician associate. And I was like, clearly the world does not want me to be one. So I was just like, I don't know. And then when I went deep into the book, I was like, okay, my why are my God kids. Like, I love speaking to them. We have this ritual of speaking to them every Saturday. And I was like thinking about them. Like, if I do this act, I will devastate them. And I don't want to do that. And then slowly, like, God, like, had me see the light. Because the thing with darkness, there's still light, but you just so focus on the dark, you don't see the light. And technically, darkness is light.
Right.
So once my God kids came in my head, I was like, okay, why did I become a physician associate? And then I realized, okay, because I love to heal, I love to encourage, I love to educate. And I realized I put my identity on a role when the role is supposed to be a role and identity is identity.
Right.
So once I separated the two, then everything started to like just get out and come in.
And how did that lead you? So what were those steps? So you get there, you kind of get to that place, and how did you start to kind of change that mindset to to where you are now? Was it what was that process like for you?
One, it was journaling, because the whole time I was journaling. So I was journaling my thoughts and rereading them and seeing what was going on with my head. And then it was like, okay, what are we going to do now? Like, what are we doing? Because that was her main questions in the book. Like, what are we going to do? So I'm like, okay, well, let me go to what I know best, which is I like to dance. I like to read books. So that's when the whole books thing just went totally left. But of course, by that time, the library was closed. But thank God they had drive-through. So I was like, I'll put this book on reserve, and you could just give me my book. So I just want a book to read. So I was just reading all these books about choosing happiness. I was like, okay, I'm going to choose happiness. What makes me happy? Let me dance. That makes me happy. Let me color. So I bought coloring books to make me happy. Like anything that I remembered of my life, since we couldn't go anywhere, travel is my happy. Travel is my therapy. Okay. So I went on YouTube, found like a beach wave noise, and that was my like, okay, I hear the water. Praise the Lord. Like, I just took everything that I needed to get me back to my happy. And then I noticed like my brain, like everything just started to get better. Even though my circumstance was still the same, I'm still unemployed. But at least my mind wasn't going to take me totally the bad place. and to get
Right.
me back to who I originally was, which is, to be not okay, but to be like, okay, this happened. Let's figure this out and get to a better place. So
Mm.
those were the things I had to do to find my happy and find my why, and like write everything down and just say, what, I own this. I own my thoughts. These are my thoughts. They're valid, and I'm not going to push them away,
Mm.
because when I was younger, I never took ownership of my emotions. That years later, everything will come out.
Right.
And then
Right.
now I'm like, nope, you're sad? Okay, let's own this. Okay, you're sad. Why are you sad? Then it's like, okay. And then we process it, and then we get to the root of why I'm sad. So then I can be like, okay, now let's be happy. I'm like, okay, let's be happy. So that was the process of getting from, sad, depressed, and everything, is to like remind yourself daily of your why and to find your happy.
Mm. Did you, but in growing up in New York, I would assume that growing up in New York and had some impact on, or I'm curious if it had some impact on how we share emotions, because New York City, we don't really, like it is survival of the fittest for a
Right,
reason.
right,
And so, emotions is certainly a sign of weakness. And like in any animal, any jungle, the weakest one gets eaten.
right,
Uh, Combined with you being Haitian,
right,
where I know, being Jamaican, there is a, you know, especially for being a man, but I think in general in the culture, you're careful
right,
about how we show our
right,
emotions.
right.
So to be in this place, where you're feeling those feels and trying to figure out that uh, how much of that kind of past mindset informed you in this moment?
I had to break it because,
Mm.
as I said, when I was younger, I kept everything in because, as you just said, being Caribbean is like, yo, man up. Like, don't cry about this. And mind you, I'm a female, but my whole brain was like structured like, we don't cry. And
Right.
plus, I was the oldest. So I was mainly like the person like, okay, I'm going to protect my youngest, make sure everything's good. And I'll just listen to music that says my emotions. So I was like
Right.
into rap and like alternative rock and all that stuff because they had like anger music in it. And I was like an angry kid, but I kept it in. Like I was very quiet,
Mm.
very quiet. My teachers were like, what's wrong with her? Um, but it was because I had a lot of anger inside and I didn't know how to take it out until I got older
Right.
and interact with more people, and then it'll come out at the wrong time. But it was held in so long, and then it got triggered.
Mm. And often that explosion, happens, I think, for too many black and brown kids who are told keep your emotions in, and
Right,
when as they start to express freedom or seek freedom into the world,
right,
those repressed feelings, like anything of repression, it
right,
will eventually come to the
correct,
it will eventually come to the surface.
right,
And if you aren't in control of how it comes to the surface, it can be devastating.
right,
Yeah.
right.
How did so when you doing that work on yourself,
Mm-hmm.
how did that shift to wanting to do work with others on mindset?
So 2020 happened, 21 happened. So 21 is when I went into the jail system. So found
Mm.
a job in the corrections. And by then I was already working on my mind and seeing like, oh my gosh, the whole mind is everything. Like it starts everything.
Right.
And I will meet these inmates, men and female, and, just have casual conversations like, hey, how'd you get in here? How are you? You cool? And I'll hear them say like, hey, I just messed up. Like I lost my cool. And I was like, okay, well, it starts here. So you have to make sure whatever happens, you keep your cool and your thoughts, because if you don't, you're going to do an action that's going to get you back in here. He's like, yeah, you're right. I'm not coming back in here. I'm like, okay, great. So now my brain was like, okay, let me get to their thoughts of how they got here. Because once I get to the thought of how you got here, you will make sure you don't do that the thought, because the thought will lead to the act, and then the act will lead you there. So that it just kept going. And as I said, as you said, I read 50 books. Like I was just reading, like, okay, let me understand why people do what they do, why they think what they think, and why they do this behavior. Because it all starts with your thought of how you think about something. Like many people with the layoff handled it 3 ways. 1, I got laid off, cool, whatever. I'm going to get and do my other job.
Sure.
1. 2, what I did in the beginning, I was good. Then it was like, oh my God, I'm taking this personal. Why me? I got laid off. Second person. Third person, I get laid off and they either commit suicide straight off the back, or they attack the boss and they kill them.
Right.
Because of thoughts. All of those 3 reactions were due to the thought process. So if the last person didn't take it so personal and think the boss did it, it wouldn't have been going all left.
Right.
So that's what led me to become a coach, to be like, you know what? Everything starts in the mind. And also I do gastro. And gastro is like mouth to butt. That's what I tell people so they can understand it. And a lot of our gut health issues is because of our mind issues.
Wow.
And the mind and the gut are related. Not related, but they send signals, because the gut has its own nervous system. So if you're anxious in your brain, your gut system will be anxious. And you'll have a lot of diarrhea or constipation or bloating, because your mind is all anxious and you told your body, I'm anxious, so it's going to be anxious too.
Right. So what does it mean for you, taking all of that into that journey into, in total, what does it mean to have a resilient mind?
Yes. A resilient mind is, for example, a layoff. You'll take that layoff and you say, yes, it happened to me. It hurts. It is not cool. I will not take this personal. What can I do now so then I can get myself money, get myself back on track to where I need to be? Like, you rise above the situation and you don't take it personal, because at the end of the day, it didn't happen to me. It happened for me. So as long as I don't take things personal and just be like, you know what? Life happens. This is what happened to me. And let me just move forward and take the lesson from it, to just be like, hey, you at least had a savings account. Good job, Rosira. You had that. Maybe we'll have $1,000 saved. So it's to take the lessons to make sure, okay, we're good. God is good. God is still good, because I was cursing him out. I was like, God, you are not good right now. So to just keep the circumstance and God separate, and to know like God can take the circumstance and blow our minds. And that is what resilience looks like.
Can you have a resilient mind without faith?
No.
Why?
Because you need faith to have resilience. Because faith is saying, hey, I had this happen, but I have the faith to know something good is going to come out of this. Because if you don't, you're operating in fear. It's one or the other. So with resilience, you have faith because you're saying, okay, I have the faith that I and God, because we work together, we're going to get through this and there's something good coming. Yes, it looks terrible, but something good is coming, and that's faith.
I tend to think, and I'm curious what you think about this, is that, you know, I feel like as the world has become more and more skeptical, not just about faith, but skeptical about everything. Right?
Right.
The things that we used to have is, in addition to, you know, spiritual faith, we used to have faith in used to have faith in government. We used to have faith in, you know, institutions. We had faith in structures, in school, in education, like all these things. We had faith in work, that work would be there waiting for us. Right. And as all of the, you know, those foundational things that we relied on, as they start to crumble, right, it's giving people permission to pull back on faith in general.
Right.
How do we fix that?
One, to realize you put the faith in the wrong places. Number one. Number two, to realize, like for me, I did the same thing. I put my security in my job. I put everything in my job. I'm like, come on, you guys need me. Like, what's your problem? Versus God is my security. God is my faith. God is my hope. God is my peace. God is my government. God is my president. Like, government can do whatever they want to do. At the end of the day, God is in control. And as long as we put all that there and give the places their proper name, which is, you're just a place that gives me income for my resource I am giving to you.
Right.
I have to do my part to make sure I save money in case anything happens. We should not, yes, we should not have that type of mentality. However, in the end of the day, life happens.
Right.
So,
right.
And then the government, same thing. The government is up and down every single day. Why are you putting faith there in the first place? Okay, so that's the government. The school system, unfortunately, has been messed up because of the government. So back then, there was a lot of more structure in the school system, and teachers were validated. Now teachers are not validated. So, and the kids are now literally taking control of the classroom. So you can't put faith in something where the balance of power got messed up.
Right. That's probably true about healthcare too, right? Like,
don't get me started on healthcare. It's terrible.
Well, because one of the challenges with COVID, and I was talking to someone. This is 3 years later, and I was talking with someone about the vaccine and the mandate and all of that, and and they were saying, all of the things that we were just talking about. I don't trust this, and I don't trust that, and I don't trust that, and even in healthcare, we have lost the ability to trust the profession, right, and to trust that the profession knows what's good for us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I agree.
So as someone who has worked in the medical field, how, what's the prescription for for folks that are should we have faith in medicine still? Did what happened in the vaccine kind of challenge with the vaccine and your mandate, did that challenge your faith at all? Or
Yes,
did your faith in God kind of trump that?
my faith in God. Once everything got better for me, my faith in God was like, it was going this way. Like I wasn't even like plateauing. I wasn't going down. I was going up.
Mm.
And even in my book, I shared a chapter called "Jab or No Job," and that was the slang term for getting the vaccine, jab.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in Georgia, it was two options: either jab, get the vaccine, or you have no job.
Right.
And I, as you said, healthcare professional, physician associate, and I wasn't jiving with this whole vaccine thing. I was like, no.
Mm.
So at the time, I was in a contract job, and they did not have contractors to get in the whole mandate part. So I was like,
Okay.
praise the Lord, I don't have to worry about that. Then they reneged that and then said, hey, contractors are included. So I was like, okay, God, you already know how I feel. So that's that. So I was asking, hey, can I at least do tests every week? They were like, no. I was like, okay, well, give me exemptions, religious and health.
Yeah.
Try to get those. That ain't pan out. So I said, hey, I'm not going to be here. So you could just terminate me. So they're like, okay, well, we're going to have you finish till the 1st of October. And then that's your last day. I was like, cool. And I was like, you know what, God, I'm going to have faith in you for everything because, and I believe the laid off prepared me for all this to be like, I already know God has my back and I'm going to stand on this because I don't want it. And I don't believe that for me to work, I should get this vaccine.
Mm.
So God booted out. And then within a month, God got me another job in a place that did not require a vaccine. Because I asked first, I was like, do I need a vaccine? They're like, no. I was like, okay, we could continue the paperwork.
Right.
I was like, yeah, we're not doing this. So it made my faith in God even greater because I showed God that I had faith in him to keep me with the decision I made.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder so I did get the vaccine and I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about COVID, but I did get the vaccine and I wonder today though, in retrospect, whether or not that was a challenge of my faith. Uh, and because I believe in structure and I believe in systems and I believe we are better when our systems work, right? And when we have faith in them. And I was raised in, I was raised in a way that was like, God is here to put these systems in place. Like these systems are here because they are, divinely created. But there's such a distortion now about the way that that conversation can happen, the way that faith can be kind of distorted and moved around to look and sound. It's like it's almost that almost looks like faith, but there's this that doesn't work for me, and that's where I I really started to think about the individuality of faith, that it isn't, you there is no group think around faith for me anymore, right? So if you say, hey, I have faith, and I say I have faith, we would often, in the past, you'd be trying to find common ground, right? What kind of faith, what kind of, what faith you got? Okay, I got this faith. You got this faith? Okay, we good.
Right.
And because there's so many ways we've been blessed in this time to recognize that the only way to praise is not going to church every Sunday. In fact, Sunday has become almost secondary. That for me, there has to be demonstrations of faith Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Sunday doesn't even work.
Right.
And that I do not care anymore what your faith is. You know, if you have some kind of faith, I'm good. I would rather that than because it's not my place, and you know, God is an individual. Faith is an individual thing. It's not,
Right.
we don't have to go to the pastor or go to the church and ask for, the download from God. We can find that connection
Right.
every day, as we were talking about earlier, walking down the street, in our kitchen, and then maybe sometimes in church or synagogue or wherever, that it is, and that the more that we seek inward, the more we stay connected. My my question related to that though is do we lose something in that? Like, do we lose what we lose in that is the opportunity for fellowship and
Right.
community,
Right.
and so, the statistics show that, people going to church is, the numbers of people that go to church every Sunday is lessening across the board, or,
Right.
go to, whatever religious, kind of standing religious service, all of those numbers are going down,
Right.
but the search for spirituality and connection, that those numbers are going up. So it's
Right.
not like people are leaving spirituality. It's just, kind of morphing and moving in a
Right.
different way.
Right.
What do you,
So
yeah.
yeah. So I honestly believe that, as they say, social media is not social. And because of the advent of YouTube and COVID happening, all the pastors had to go to YouTube to get to their people.
Yeah.
So now all the pastors, or most of them, are on YouTube. Before they weren't, before COVID.
Sure.
Because I don't remember my pastor being on YouTube, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And then after COVID, after doors open, people got comfortable in staying home.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I was first person out. I was like, when you open the doors, oh, let's go. Like, I'm out of here.
Right.
So, so many people, one, got comfortable, and comfortability leaves you stagnant. Stagnant, you don't grow. So
Right.
that's that.
Yeah.
Number two, Jesus is all about community. God is all about community, because at the end of the day, if he wasn't, he wouldn't have created Eve for Adam. Okay? Period. So we are not meant to be alone. Like 2 chapters into the Bible.
Right.
So
right.
we are not created to be alone. God wants us a community, because when we're isolated, that's when the devil says, hey, how are you? So we need community, and Jesus is all about us community. So if we are getting too comfortable on YouTube church and not having community, you're going to see yourself not really growing, because God doesn't only work through him. He created other people, so then he could speak to you through other people as well. So God is not okay with you just saying, well, at least you have your God, and I'm staying home, and I have church from YouTube. Like, God is not flowing with that. He created people for a reason. He knows how the enemy works, and soon the enemy will come through YouTube. What are you going to do? So, and matter of fact, he's probably on YouTube. But anyway.
For sure he is. Yeah, and for sure he is. And in some ways, someone said to me, social media is, and I was like, whoa. Social media is like one big place is like the devil's petri dish, right? Is because everything about, and you said it earlier, there is nothing social about social media, and I'm not even sure that it's media. It's certainly not media that I feel connected to. Like I can find nuggets that that can fill me,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but I had to curate that. Like I remember a couple years ago, I kind of dropped out of social media completely,
Mm-hmm.
and so someone was like, "Hey, you're not posting anymore," and I was like, "You know what? I just everything I see on it makes me not want to be on it."
Right.
And the person was like, "You could change that." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You could change what you see
Right.
by changing what you search for."
Right.
So I don't know how long I've been on Instagram, which is my primary thing, but I had 10 years, or maybe I'm assuming I've been on 10 years of searching for, or searching for things on Instagram that's still informing my algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing that I was interested in 10 years ago is for sure not the thing that I'm interested in today. But
Right.
the algorithm doesn't know I'm not interested in that thing.
Right.
So, for example, this is not a nice thing to say, but I used to get these like way too many photos of women in bikinis.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly there was a some time ago, when all I was looking at on social media was women
Right.
in bikinis. So
Right.
still I'm getting all of these women in bikinis, and I didn't want to look at women in bikinis anymore.
Right.
I didn't want that to be my primary
Correct.
use of it, right? So I had to dismantle and change what I received.
Right.
And by I started thinking, I was like, I want to use this to fuel, uh fill my cup with affirmations and positivity,
Right.
and I want to follow people that are aligned
Right.
with with that. I had to unfollow a bunch of people. I had to
Right.
do all of these things to get rid of the sour taste that I
Right.
had about social media, and I'm still not quite there, because I still don't. I think it's very, if you click on one thing, it can kind of
Right.
disrupt,
Right.
and I don't want that. But and the other thing is that it also gives you a false sense of it can give you a false sense of community. When I left New York years ago, I was like, we were like, yo, we're gonna stay in touch. Of course, we got Facebook.
Right.
We're gonna, and those relationships suffered. And some of the closest people that I was, tight with when I was in New York, I'm not tight with them anymore.
Right.
And part of that is because I relied on social media to be the bridge,
Right.
when everything about social media feels like it's trying to pull us apart.
Right. Totally agree.
Yeah. What Before I get into the questions, how can people how would you describe your coaching style?
Yes. My coaching style is mainly about resilient mindset to get you unstuck from where you are, to get you to where your future self wants to, for you to meet your future self. My whole slogan is your future is awaiting you. And to reset your mind is to reset your life. And many people are stuck in the whole, I'm motivated, but they're not moving. So I'm like, no, I want you to get over the whole motivation, because I was there, like, oh, listen to this motivation, and then a day later, like, everything left, and I didn't do anything of what these speakers told me to do.
Yep.
So it's to get you from, let's implement what we doing, what we're gonna be accountable for, because this is now, a lot of people are still in this whole motivation. I'm like, no, motivation is overrated. It's mediocre. We need to get to implementation. And that's what my coaching style is all about, to get you to your future self that's been waiting for you to get there.
Right. All right. Okay. I'm going to ask you a series of random questions. First answer that comes to mind, or not, or, whatever. All right. What was your first concert?
Was it Janet Jackson? Yes, Janet Jackson.
Which tour?
Oh my God, the Velvet Rope. Jesus, Madison Square Garden. Oh.
Janet. Okay. All right.
Yes.
So here's a tougher question. Janet Jackson or Beyonce?
Janet Jackson. That's not tough.
It really isn't tough.
Yeah.
It really isn't tough. I mean, no, I don't want to get killed out here. I might have to edit this part out because we don't.
No, keep it.
But as extraordinary as Beyonce is, back in the day we used to say you. I don't remember. I can't even remember how it goes, but Janet was insane.
She still is.
You know what? Black don't crack. Anyway, what's your favorite snack?
Cheez-Its. Original.
Cheez-Its?
Oh my God. Cheez-Its. The Cheez-Its box, like not cheese crackers, okay? Cheez-Its. Yes. Original. My mom accidentally bought me Gouda, how you say that cheese? I was like, Mommy, don't ever do that again. Original box only. So I have to specify original box.
Copy. What's a skill that you're trying to master?
Using tact. So I've been working on it because you said I'm from Brooklyn. So things come out and I'm like, let me finesse this and put some sugar on it and a dash of salt. So speaking with tact.
What is your favorite part of the day?
I would say the morning. Because that means I made it through the night. And the first thing I do is say, thank you, Jesus. And I'm like, and then the birds, it's no better than the birds. So yeah.
What's your wake up ritual after you say, thank you, Jesus?
Depending on the day. So if I don't have a flight, I'm ready like, hey, let's go, we're flying. But if I don't have a flight, then it's like, thank you, Jesus. And then it's like, okay, let me get my Bible and I'll stay in that whole thing. Depending on if something gets me. Because one time I spent an hour on one verse. So I was like, yo, this verse got me. But that's my first hour.
What's your favorite board game?
It's called Kai. But the English term is Macaulay, I think it's called. It's like this board and it has like circles and you have to pass the rocks around.
Oh, yeah.
So in Haiti, we call it Kai. But I think it's American term Macaulay, something like that.
I don't know. I don't know. Sounds kind of like backgammon, but it's not that.
Oh, I don't know.
What's one ingredient that you could, or spice that you could put on everything that you eat?
A piece. So that's a Haitian spice. As they say, like for the hot sauce, I put that on everything. That's a piece. Like I put that on everything.
What's your favorite reality TV show?
Love is Blind. Like I'm into that. I didn't get to the other ones because someone asked me like, "Oh, you're into Married at First Sight?" I was like, "No, I never got into the hype of it." I think the hype of it messed me up. But Love is Blind. I mindset those people so hard because I was funny. Like I'm like, oh, your mindset has worked. You need some healing. You got some toxic childhood issues. Like,
Yeah,
They're
for real.
all my patients. They don't even know it. But yeah.
What's your favorite curse word?
I don't curse anymore. So back in the day, I say whatever a lot. So currently, that's probably my non
Your
curse
curse
word.
word?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Window or aisle seat on a
Window.
plane? Window.
Window. Because I just came off a plane. I was stuck in the middle twice. But and those people knew each other, and I just like boarding a flight when the window person and the aisle person act like they don't know each other, and then I'm like, "Hey, can I get the middle?" And they're like, "Oh, hold on," and then they move over and start chatting. I'm like, "So you knew this person? Like, why you do that? Just sit there." I digress.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What is your greatest superpower?
I just had this conversation with somebody, and they told me it's my resilience, and I was like, "I didn't think of that." So my resilience.
What superpower do you wish you had?
Teleport. If I could teleport, Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy.
What song could you listen to on repeat?
Phil Collins. Like, oh shucks, I forgot the song title. End of the night. Not the end of the night.
Oh,
I can feel it
in
coming in the
the air
Miami
tonight.
Vice. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
On repeat. I don't ever get tired of that song.
That's a good one. What who are three people, alive or dead, that you would invite to dinner?
Jesus, because he's a bomb. I'm sorry. So that's one. Two, dead or alive. A live person. Let me choose an alive person. Denzel Washington, because he, to me, is phenomenal, and the way he speaks, I know it's gonna be a good conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And then third, I would say Peter from the Bible, because I could relate to him in so many ways. And I tell people, like, I could be Jesus and I could be Peter.
What would your last supper be?
Oh my gosh. It's my birthday dinner. So it'll be black rice, which is called douille jojon. And it's going to be fried pork, which is called griot, with fried plantains, and pink salad, which is made of beets of potatoes and carrots and all that good stuff, and baked ziti. That whole plate is my birthday plate. And that's my last meal.
Last question. When the movie of your life is published or released, what will the title be, and what actress will play you?
Wow. I would say You Wouldn't Believe This Happened. And actress, who am I feeling right now? I would say, I can't pronounce her last name, but her first name is Yvonne Origi, something like that. She's this Nigerian lady. She's Christian Nigerian. She was an actress in Insecure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Where can people find you on the socials, or if someone's interested in coaching, resilient mindset coaching, where can they find you?
You can find me on Linktree/The Resilient Life. Also, you can find me on Instagram, the.resilient_life. Also on YouTube under Rosi Resilient. Also have a singles course for people who are tired of being single, tired of cuff season, and want to have a satisfied single life. That starts October 26th. And you can find that on Linktree/The Resilient Life.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Rosi
Thank
Resilient, for
you.
being here today. That's
Yes.
another episode of Divine Disconnection. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify and all the other things. Until next time, stay divine, people. God bless.